Well, hey, I'm back on site. It's been a minute now. It's been like 2 days since I've been out here, and I know it's probably been a while since I've written this post. But I'm back at it. I've been out of town for a little while, and so I am going to I don't have a lot of time this morning, but I'm going to try to build out right in front of me. I've got the south, I guess it would be, gable end for the main part of the house, and there's another little section there, and so there'll be a fireplace right in front of me, right where my camera's saying there'll be a little fireplace. And then behind me here, I'm going to frame up the gable studs to close out that section, because all this that I'm standing in is the living room. It'll be vaulted. I was helping a friend of mine yesterday. He's got a homestead. You'll see it here pretty soon. But he bought a Wood-Mizer HM 126, a big sawmill. I have a sawmill, but it's not as big. And I'm going to he's going to give me some white oak, some big white oak, because I need about a 20-foot beam for this. We're going to mill that up. I'll show that to you. He just bought a little Harbor Freight backhoe. We're going to put that thing together and put it through its paces and see what it's capable of. It's probably not big enough to dig my septic, but we're going to use it to trench open. You've seen me dig here before if you've been watching this channel and know just how rocky it is. It's like, you pull out whatever you pull out of a hole, 2/3 of it is flint rock where I'm at, which isn't the hardest. It usually breaks it pretty easy. But and I'm not, knock on wood, encountered any really large boulder sort of situations. But we're gonna put that together. I'm gonna do a video about it probably, and hopefully maybe next week. I know I've said that like 14 times. So, but I'm hoping sooner than later we're gonna get this thing where it's trenched out and I can run my power and hopefully stop using a generator and all that business. But for today, I don't have much time. So I'm going to spend a few hours doing this, maybe clean up a little bit. And then right after this, I'm going to show you some details I kind of forgot about in the last video. All right. So last time I was here, I showed you this. I framed this up. I don't remember what the pitch was, kind of the way I do it. If I have something that's on plans, I just follow the plans, obviously. But if you don't, you kind of just eyeball it. And my main concern is I didn't want to be too high up on a ladder and still have a little bit of a pitch. So I think this is a 512, something like that. But I normally just tack on, use clamps, whatever, and figure out exactly where my line is so that everything's nice and tight, because I'm not so good at the other part. It seems like you do a few of them and they get tighter as you go. By the time you're done, they're perfect, but it goes better for me this way. Anyway, I've got kind of a vault framed inside of that. I thought, it's just as easy, and the material is actually shorter, and so I can use some shorter material, vault this ceiling, and get what I need. Now, insulation wise, you're probably better off just to have rafters or a ceiling joist straight across. But I wanted to do this just to add a little bit of character to this room. It's going to end up having some more white oak beams. That'll be kind of the theme of this whole house, is tons and tons of white oak, because I love white oak and it's what I have. But it'll be a center beam, probably a 4x4, in the center of it. And then I'll have some other beams that are parallel with these rafters here. And so I snapped the line, or I didn't snap the line, but I put a line. I don't think I described this. I'm trying to go back and fix my mistake here, but I put a line there all the way to the other end and marked it so I knew where my joists, or my rafters and joists, they're joists, joists on this side, rafters on this side, would lay out. I made a pattern and then cut it, and they're kind of wild, honestly, but it really doesn't matter as long as they're not sticking up above the roof line there. And so line that in. You've got to have drywall nailers to put all that stuff in. I've got a few spots I'm going to have to go back, as you can see. And then I forgot. I did all this and had paid no attention to the blocking for the outside, which I'm not a framer. I am a trim carpentry guy. And so, a framer would do better. But this right here is just a support. It'll go bye-bye here in a minute. I put in rafter ties, and normally, per code, whatever you want to say, they're not like that. I had to get them a little closer. And, using the 2x4 is a little cheesy, but I think it's going to be just fine given the other things that I've got going on here with, this vaulted ceiling. And so the other side, I'll probably mirror it the same way. It's not there yet, but it'll be, through that door right there is the next bedroom. But that's just kind of some detail on what I'm doing. There's probably something I'm forgetting, but if you have questions, just ask me. I kind of know what I'm doing, and I have lots of friends who I check with. Like I said, I'm not a framer, but I understand it. I've been part of framing crews, and I just do more trim work these days. So right now I'm going to work on framing out this gable end. I'm going to put you on time lapse just to explain what I'm doing. I've got to stand up studs like I did in the other end of the house. If you look over here, same thing. The difference will be, I think I'm going to put a 2x6 on flat so that I have a nailer block, because the structure of that will be obviously in that set of rafters right there. And then there'll be a beam right on top of that 4x4 right there. And I've got to figure out how far down that beam comes, because it's kind of a weird situation. You'll see more of that, I'm hoping, pretty soon as we get this big oak beam cut. But I'm going to set you up on time lapse and show you what I'm doing. All right, so I've got this framed up. I'm just going to kind of explain what I got going on here. My layout is kind of wonky. I don't know what's happened here, but I'll probably just add a block, and you can see it right between those two studs in the middle. Then over that doorway, I guess I just thought, I'll put them wherever I want. I don't know, but I'll fix it eventually. What I've done is I put a 2x6 on flat. Hopefully you can see that without glare, so that I have an edge to nail to for drywall. And then I just left it kind of wild up there. And I'll end up putting 2x4s like I did temporarily. Well, you can't really see it now, but they'll stay. These will stay, and I'll create a beam pocket. I don't have the beam with me, but I know I'm going to cut it the width of a 4x4, 3.5 or whatever. And so I use a scrap piece. It'll end up being 4x8, 4x10. And I might go bigger than that. All I have to do is just cut that piece or pull it down and cut a new one. But just trying to rough it as much as I can for that beam, and at the same time not get in the way of getting the beam out here. It's going to be crazy. And what will happen is we'll probably put it, well, not this end because there's nowhere to go. And that could be tough. But I'll put one end up, get some help and lean it up in there, and probably ratchet strap it, put some screws in it or whatever, and then lift it. You got one end up in the air. Let's just say it's this end I'm looking at. And then this side will be, on the ground. We'll take and ratchet strap it, come along, whatever. I might buy a little winch, get some help, get a couple of ladders, build some scaffolding. I don't know, but get that thing up there. That's going to be one of the hardest things we do, or I do. There's no we in this situation, really. But that's how I'll do it. I've done stuff like that in the past, and sometimes it's really painful because you got to go up a little ways and block it off or put a screw in it to keep it still, and then undo your ratchet straps, try again, keep going. It's a pain, but it's not too bad. And once it's up there, it'll be super easy to frame in because I'm going to overlay each of the 2x6s. I'll make a template cut with the bird's mouth, and then it'll overlay, we'll have bird's mouth both sides of the beam, and then, down the low side. But that's what I've got going on. Kind of how I did this was the best way that I've found. Somebody, if you have a better way, do it in the comments. But I figured out what my angle was, and it's 3 clicks that way. That's the best way I found it. And so I cut that angle, and once you have that angle up there, it fits nicely up in that, and then you can trace the the 90-degree cut. So you got the angle pre-cut and then hold it up however it makes sense. And then I was trying to be diligent about keeping that flat board, the 2x6, in the right spot, because it kind of, when I first nailed it up there, it was kind of droopy, and that will make your drywall corner look a little odd and you'll fight it. So these are my tips, I guess. So anyway, that's what I've done there. I'm going to end up doing the same thing on this wall. So I'll set you up on time lapse and we'll get her done. Well, I got both of those gables in. This one was kind of a pain, and I'm not so sure if I'm going to leave some of that up there or not. I might go back and reconfigure this because I need to go get some 2x6s, which I'm going to do on Friday, hopefully. But I had to just kind of piece together whatever I could to temp in some, rafters for now. So those two rafters will probably go bye-bye. What I did, since there's going to be another section of the house right here, and so I don't have it framed in yet because I've got to leave this open to do the septic, and it's going to kind of start holding me up here pretty soon, but hopefully we get that worked out. But anyway, what I did is just kind of piece together rafters off the template that I have, trying to keep my template in place, and then used a block to simulate the 2x8 ridge board. It's not a beam, it's a board, ridge board for now, so I can kind of rough this in and give me enough to raise this beam hopefully here pretty soon, because I'm going to have to do that and then frame in the rest of this cathedral ceiling. And what it'll be is a oak beam that goes right up there, and the rafters will go on top of it and overlap, and then I'll have kind of decorative beams that go from the peak to the low point. And so I'm hoping to get that cut. I might do it tomorrow. I don't know. I'm supposed to go help my friend who has a lot of stuff. He's got a big sawmill. We might cut it. I don't know. We'll see what happens. But that's the plan. I don't have much time out here today, so I'm going to have to leave. But just want to show you the progress that I have. I'm hoping I can get that beam up here pretty soon, and then start framing in the rest of this cathedral ceiling. Once we get to that point, it'll probably be, I'll either start framing in some random little things, like I've got an alcove that'll go right here that it kind of frames in the stove, the range hood. And I don't know, there's this little bump out thing here where I decided to put, because I was just going to put a big patio door there, but I might frame that out. I don't know. I need to pour 2 more piers for it, and then I'm thinking probably 3. That way I can do a little porch, because I'll end up moving the back door into, so this door right here, let me back up. That door right there is into the laundry room. So you go in there and turn left, and I'll bump that all out, bump out where this dining little nook is going to be, and bump that out and put a little mudroom thing, and probably point the door the same direction as that, but on the bump out, and maybe you can get a little porch. I don't know, probably a little porch and some steps. So I'm changing plans again. What's new? But I'm happy with the progress I've got. I've got to go get some more lumber before I do anything else. And just kind of to show you this detail again, I've got a 2x6 with a little overhang, so I have nailer for the drywall. Some of these are not real level, but what I did was take and cut the angle first, put them up there, trying to hit the layout. That one's not quite right, and I'll end up putting more, probably blocking, depends on what happens in drywall. And then cut the flat after you use a little, like a plumber's level, That's just kind of my process. And there's many ways to do this, and it doesn't go all the way to the corner, but I just need nailing blocks for drywall. That's really all that is, and it stiffens it up. Well, that's going to be it for this. I know it's kind of a shorter episode, but I really just trying to get content out so you guys aren't lagging too far behind. Thank you so much for everyone that's liked videos. Please comment. Be nice if you can, but it helps me a whole lot when you do that. And please subscribe and turn on your notifications for me too. Thanks so much for sticking around and going on this journey with me.